DJ in here. Feel like I'm mixing something hot. All right, everybody. It's Monday, the 7th of October. What do you do today on your Monday, October 7th, 2024? Well, we had a little bit of a change. I just want to put this up front. Jim Lee is not feeling very well tonight. He was going to be our third guest tonight. So I think we're going to have a little bit of extra time for calls at the end that I assume we weren't going to have otherwise. But we still got Noor Ladin, and we still have Wendi Mahoney calling in. Wendi is on site in North Carolina. She's volunteered for relief efforts, and of course, she's just observing and putting it into her writing. And I can't wait just to talk to her about things, because I'm sure she'll be able to answer some questions from whatever experience she's gained. But, you know, she's got that writer's eye, and there'll probably be something deeper in there. So that's what we got tonight. Noor Ladin on with us in a couple of minutes, live from Europe, and then Wendi maybe in the second half, maybe just past the intermission. Now I was gonna have them stacked back to back, but Jim Lee's he's got like a migraine or something right now, so I hope Jim feels well. And that's what we got going on tonight. It's gonna be great. We got full show. I've got so many other things. Ladies and gentlemen, we had this wonderful edition of the book club come out today, and Noor wrote a featured piece for it, so that's going to be really good. If you're a sponsor, you have had it delivered to you already. If you're a sponsor and you haven't found it anywhere, just if you're Patreon subscribed star, remember I put it right there on the platform for all of you to see. And then if you sponsor directly through quitefrankly.tv through Squarespace, that goes to your email. And if it didn't show up, please get in touch with me and we will figure out what the hell happened. If you are a sponsor through Foxhole or pilled.net, then you just check your DMs. Everything is there, including your book club link for tonight. That's at 9 o'clock. We're doing John Cheever's The Swimmer, which I'm telling you, it's actually a spooky story. It's a spooky story, but one and done, a short story. That's what we have going on tonight. I'm really excited about it. And then I'll be in the mountains for a couple of days, and every morning I would say look out for a coffee stream from the back porch. Do a couple of minutes with you guys there from the handheld, and then anything that goes on at night on the website, I'll let you know through either Discord or Gilded or Telegram, and all will be well. Those links are in the description below, or you can find them all on the About page on quitefrankly.tv. So, that's really it. That's really it. And we only have a couple minutes before Noor joins us, so let's get right to it. I mean, it's a lot of Hurricane Helene. We'll do that with Wendi, but now you got Milton, which, I mean, you could take multiple sides on this, and I've seen all the sides taken. Okay, that it's either climate change that has created a Category 5 hurricane going directly eastward throughout the Gulf Coast, that's going barreling toward Florida, is going to make landfall on Wednesday. It's already a Category 5, and it's either climate change or it's manipulating of the weather. But there's also at least 3, because I've seen a lot of people say, hey, this is sun activity. This has a lot to do with what's going on with the weakening magnetic shield of the Earth. This is all part of the process of the either polar flip, if you believe that we're going to have a geophysical actual shift, or if it is just a geomagnetic thing. So there are people lined up all over the place, and everybody is very staunch in their opinion. And I was really excited about having Jim Lee on, but obviously if you can't see straight, you can't talk, and I want him to feel better. So we'll just take some calls at the end. This is some serious stuff here. And if you think about what's already happened in coming up through the Gulf with Helene and into the mainland, like the western side of the Carolinas, it really makes you wonder what the hell, how this is going to impact the election. How it's going to impact the election. A lot of battleground states that these things are going through now, buzzsawing through, and now one is bigger than the next. So a lot of things on our mind, and it's we still got weeks to go. But here we go. Let's just get this one started. I had a couple other things for the grab bag, but we'll do that later on. I just want to set the table for our good friend Noor. Be right back.
You live here?
Yes.
Well, maybe you know what a zombie is.
When a person dies and is buried, it seems there's certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's go!
I want to show it. Damn it. Where did you go? Here you are. Where's the window capture? There it is. The Quite Frankly Bulletin, a monthly chronicle of the nightly broadcast, issue number 3. And it is a cozy one, ladies and gentlemen. An absolute banger. The 3rd edition is out. It was published this morning. It's hard to express how good it all is. And this month features another top 5 from Matt. There's a really great... I didn't know what Jay Gulanello was going to put with his retreat reflections, but it was really, really nice. And then we have Noor and so many other features that were great. Movie suggestions, recipes, so many great things, all for you. And the costume contest. I have to announce the winner. We have the costume contest winner, and that's gonna be great. I'll do that in the second half. So that's what I have. And like I said before, a great feature from our dear friend Noor bin Ladin. So let's bring Noor on. She, of course, we are separated by many miles worth of land and sea, but it's almost as if she's in the other room when she hangs out with us. Noor, are you all right?
I am all right. Thanks, Frank, for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You sound well rested for some reason.
Listen, I just did a war room with Natalie Winters, Stephen K. Bannon's war room.
Yeah.
And so that kind of woke me up a little for tonight's show. But I will admit that, as usual, it's 1 a.m. over here. I am in bed in my PJs and coming in live for the show with you, Frank. As I call you, you're my favorite corner of the internet and the coziest, to use the word you used with your newsletter.
Yeah. Well, it's even cozier tonight that I'm in my walk-in closet of an office. So we have even less space than we usually do when I'm at Studio A. But there, whether you're in bed in your PJs or not on screen, we have you in this very appropriate fall attire, and you've made the screen very festive tonight. Hey, you know what? Before we jump into everything else, speaking of War Room, I know we're a couple of weeks away from Steve Bannon being able to walk free. What are things like over there? And have you heard from Steve in any way? Were you able to pass messages along? What's the deal?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that I really do miss Steve a lot, and I can't wait for him to get out of prison. I mean, there have been so many things that have happened in the last few months, not to mention, assassination attempts and such, and his commentary was sorely missed. But that being said, the team has been doing an amazing job, front end and back end, whether it's the various hosts. And special kudos to Natalie Winters, especially. She is a brilliant young woman, 23 years old, very, very bright, eloquent, beautiful, and just has been doing a tremendous job. and of course all of the other hosts, my dear friend Joe Allen, who was really the number one person I turn to when it comes to AI and the robots taking over. So I've been also on the show with him a few times, and the whole production team, behind the scenes, the guys in Denver, the producers, they're all holding down the fort, as we say, really well. So kudos to all of them.
I know Joe Allen. He did a joint speaking engagement with a friend of the show, Timothy Alberino, and I know that they really hit it out of the park as far as AI and transhumanist futures goes, and I know that that's a very big part of what you incorporate into your work, because fighting off the plans that these technocrats have for us is going to be first and foremost implemented on a censorship level. And that's why I love that people like yourself have gotten into new projects like Antimatters. I want you to talk about Antimatters. It was definitely a part of the feature you did for Quite Frankly. But let's start there before we get into like election and everything else. Talk a little bit about Antimatters, your new project, and the way that it influenced your message that you wanted to get across in this month's bulletin.
Yeah, with the work that I've been doing, the past few years now, I would say that the focus, or my focus, has been really at the intersection of the rise of globalism and looking at the history of globalism over the last 200 years and all the different vehicles that they've set up and the different strategies and operations that they've put in place to lead us to where we are today. Which is the brink of them realizing their world government, their new world order, or great reset, however you want to call it. And coming back to the intersection point, the basically controlled demolition of the United States of America as a prerequisite for the globalists in order to advance their plans, because America basically stands in their way. Your Constitution, your Bill of Rights is really what stands in the way, and more specifically 1A and 2A. And coming back to the term you just used in terms of censorship, censorship is really a key aspect of them being able to finalize their plans. And that's why they're coming so strong against free speech. And you hear, whether it's Hillary Clinton, who keeps doubling down on how all whatever is being shared on social media is so dangerous.
Indeed.
And all of this needs to be controlled. We've seen like several clips and intensification the last couple of weeks. Nikki Haley, I remember blasting her again on the War Room at some point because she called for the end of online anonymity, saying that it was of a national security concern. And all of these people basically want the same thing. They want to end online anonymity, completely control speech, and force us to have digital IDs, even to be able to access and use the internet. This is really what I believe is coming down the pipeline.
And I just threw this up right for you from this weekend's headlines. Hillary, another one. It's every time that these people make appearances now, they're finding new ways to express their despair, their disdain for free speech or any form of it, because we don't truly have free speech. But they want this completely bottled up. Hillary Clinton said that allowing free speech on social media is a prime way of losing control of everything, I guess, which it is to them. It's the end of the world. It's usually the end of their world.
Oh, yeah, it is completely to them a question about maintaining and tightening their control over us. And it needs to go through this censorship. And it's just across the board. It's all these people, these mouthpieces like Hillary Clinton, like Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, Klaus Schwab, all of these, I call them minions. These talking heads are tasked to repeat ad nauseam the same message. And just look as well, I mentioned it on War Room just a moment ago when I was on, even that despicable FEMA director, Deanne Criswell, I think her name is, she was basically on national TV yesterday whining about the fact that her employees are scared and are demoralized because of criticisms, and quote, dangerous rhetoric. So this woman who is at the head of FEMA, of this agency that is supposed to be helping Americans that are suffering, from Hurricane Helene, is actually not helping them. And on top of it, she goes on national TV talking about, this dangerous rhetoric and using this as a pretext to push the censorship agenda. It's so disgusting and sickening how these people just use and weaponize all of these different events in order to further harm us in many different ways. I mean, it's always the same playbook.
And Antimatters, is this becoming because it's you and a few other partners of yours, but is this becoming a repository for information? Are you going to be publishing your own news, or what is the big mission statement here for antimatters.world?
Yeah, so exactly. The website is antimatters.world. And basically, I gave you a long-winded answer, but it's to say with all of these things that I've been studying, I really see that the one key thing we really need to be focused on and vigilant, despite all of the distractions, very real distractions, don't get me wrong, with very harmful consequences all around. But while all of this is going on, there is really the advancement of the digital dystopia. That's what I refer to it, whereby they are building these digital jails in which they want to lock us up in, whereby every single thing we do, single thing we say, every single transaction will be tracked and controlled. And they're going to implement these digital IDs in order to do so. And it goes beyond that question of the digital jail that I've been talking about in my own personal work. Is just in general how technology and the so-called progress is being used as a weapon to poison us mind, body, and soul, right? Mm-hmm. And it's participating to the dumbing down of society, to the rewiring of our children's brain in a very deleterious way. The fact that robots are replacing us, that AI is replacing us, that essentially the fabric of society is being completely deteriorated by the so-called progress, technological progress, but in fact it's being very much used to our detriment. And Antimatters is basically me and 3 friends of mine who are Anons, and we came up with this idea of creating merch actually that we wanted to wear, and that conveys a certain message and that is thought-provoking. So when I'm wearing the designs actually here in Geneva in the street, it's funny because people do a double take when I'm wearing them. I don't know if you can show some up on the screen. They're quite arresting designs. And so that was like the initial thought of the project. And we thought, well, we really want to wear this stuff. Maybe other people will want to wear it and we can help raise awareness or heighten the level of consciousness.
This started out as an idea for a clothing line. And then you went into publishing.
Yeah, it's like a clothing line. That's, I would say, the main thing. But as well, we provide resources on the website for people to learn about the dangers of digitization. And we share, very relevant articles and books and videos and documentaries just for people to basically understand the dangers that we are facing and the extent of this, as I call it, dystopia that is basically looming over us. And it's very important that we realize where we are being herded. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we have all of these resources, and we're looking to build a community, of like-minded people. People can sign up to our newsletter, which we will be publishing once a month with the relevant information and some articles that we will write, or have guest writers as well join. And we're going to be exploring, solutions as to how to fight this digitization. And then we're going to branch out because antimatters is not just about the digitization. That's like the first topic that we chose, but we're really going to explore all the different ways that humans and basically what we call, the biological human is being targeted, and what we need to do in order to preserve what makes us human and to preserve our integrity as human beings.
So now, and I hope people will go check it out, antimatters.world, and I'm sure that many people who have already read your piece in the quite frankly bulletin today will have clicked through to your site, and I know it's just getting started, but everything has to start somewhere. It's on AI, on all this stuff. Let's kind of mold this into some recent news, because I know that you're not necessarily. I would say that you're an Elon Musk skeptic at best, if I remember correctly. What do you think about Trump's return to Butler, Pennsylvania over the weekend, and Musk's appearance on the stage, and how involved he is now with the campaign? What does your gut tell you about this whole thing?
Oh, listen, I'm super distrustful of Elon Musk and the people of his ilk, that work in big tech and have all these types of government contracts, and that were allowed, to rise up to that level. So yeah, I'm looking at Elon Musk. I'm looking at all of his different, businesses, and it's so clear that he's part of the agenda, in my opinion. Whether you look at, the proper transhumanist stuff with Neuralink, and then you just look at the total scam that are EVs. And, he is basically the front of the leading EV company in the world. Then you have all the stuff with Starlink. So his companies definitely are, a part of building out this superstructure that I've been talking about in terms of the dangers of how everything and all aspects of our lives are being digitized. And with regards, to President Trump, and I've said this in different interviews and also including on the War Room, looking at all of these tech people kind of getting closer to him and supporting him, I'm very skeptical, and I think President Trump is, between a rock and a hard place, and he has to contend with like different things happening behind the scenes, in my opinion, that we're not necessarily privy to, and I don't know. It's hard to tell what's going on, but these people that are around him, we saw what happened with the first administration, and the different people that were around him that were, let's say, definitely not, America firsters. I'm concerned that we would have a repeat of something of the sort with these tech bros,
You're not the first one to have expressed that, and I don't know. Sometimes I have an opinion. Other times I just watch, because I feel like there's, like you say, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. Him being between a rock and a hard place. I think we're all between rocks and hard places right now, and that's why I don't. These next 3.5 weeks are. What does your gut tell you about November 5th? What does it tell you about the world? This is obviously not just an American election. This is a monumental month that is coming up for the entire world. It is either one direction or another direction. Neither of them are going to be smooth sailing, but yeah. So let's hear about that, and then we can branch out from there.
Listen, I don't have a crystal ball, and it's very hard, even though we're so close to the date, it's very, very hard to speculate as to what will happen. Is it going to be, down to the wire? Probably. Do we even get to the 5th of November? I don't even know, what can happen between now and basically just under a month is up for grabs. But I am paying attention to the election cycle, but from a very from a distance. I'm not letting it suck me into it, if I can say it like that.
Yeah.
and obviously, if this just horrible Kamala should go through, it would just be such a disaster. It would really, really be a disaster. It would basically spiral further down the drain. I'm watching from here. I'm so heartbroken to see the state of the country. Just, with this hurricane, how do you pronounce it? Helene?
Helene, yeah.
Helene, yeah. And the response has been just so abysmal, but I refuse to call it a failure because it's not a failure if it's intentional, right?
Right.
And it is very much intentional. And they do really want to run the country to the ground on all levels, logistically, infrastructure, education, where we really are witnessing the total destruction of the United States of America as we know and love the country. And it's just so heartbreaking, Frank. Really, I have no words.
Well, and it's one of those things I've been having conversations with people about off the air a lot lately. And, I've been a friend for people in need who are, and I've had to vent a little bit with some friends there too. There is quite a bit of people riding an emotional roller coaster right now. The energy is getting very thick. We kind of ebb and flow. Every once in a while, it lightens up. We get into a flow state just for a little bit, and then the choker goes back around the neck, and then we feel that pressure building, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on, especially since there's only one thing that any one person can really do concerning an election. How they're supposed to work. You go, you vote, you go home. You don't go and vote and then you set up, you set up a barricade somewhere and prepare for a war. It's like it's nothing. There's so much built up, and everybody knows what's at stake, even if they don't really read on into it. Because even somebody who wouldn't go to antimatters.world or watch, quite frankly, on any given night, they still know how their bottom line is being impacted night in, night out when they have to feed their family. And I think there's a lot of people who are just holding their breath and have been holding their breath since the middle of this summer. It's getting kind of dizzying right now, but I think that's the whole thing. Yeah.
I think we've been holding our breath since November 2020, since the steal.
Yeah.
It's they stole it, and then we were holding our breath to see how things would pan out, and then they did the fake insurrection, and then they installed that, as I call him, the senile pedo, the 20th of January 2021, and it's just been nonstop since then, and it's just everything they've done has basically been to the detriment of the United States. Also in terms of reputation on the world stage, obviously we cannot forget the abysmal withdrawal from Afghanistan, and I mean so many other things that these people have done in the past 4 years. It's just we can't have 4 more years of this. It's just not possible.
Hey, where you are, we're all dealing. I always say this: we're dealing with the same problem but different flavors. Both the Western and Eastern hemisphere. Traditional democratic European societies are being undercut, destroyed, replaced, and the media and the political class, they are tasked with addressing this situation in the most infuriatingly obtuse kind of a way. But we all see it all happening, and whereas we have our issues over here, what about you in Switzerland and that whole area? Do you have a lot of issues with migrants, and are little people outside of what there's this way that media on an international level communicates with each other and projects onto each other's populations? We go to the BBC, we go to Sky News, we go to France 24, whatever the hell it is, and we get pretty much a European CNN projection of what is going on in European society over here for Americans to digest the pablum, and then vice versa. But underneath that, I always wonder how people are actually perceiving danger, if there is any, and are wondering about the future, the trajectory of where their culture is going. So just you being a citizen out there and having friends and neighbors, and maybe some of them know what you do, maybe some of them don't, but is everybody concerned for what's going on even in places like Switzerland? Forget about New Jersey. What about around you?
Listen, we are very, very hardly hit in Europe as well. We also have, the crisis with imported migrants, and all the crime that goes with it. I mean, the rates are just absolutely astounding and horrific. And that's across the board in Western Europe. The question of censorship as well, it's absolutely ridiculous. And we have drastic measures and laws in each of our countries that prevent us from exercising our right to free speech. I wrote an article on that topic on my Substack entitled Switzerland, the End of Free Speech, where I go into detail about the state of affairs here in Switzerland, and some friends, one friend of mine in particular, who was fined, I think about $6,000, the equivalent of $6,000 or so, for basically a tweet. You really need to, people really need to read that article. It's chilling. And there is one point I do want to make, though, in terms of Europe versus the US. I do believe that the different psychological weapons and the different operations that are being waged in America versus Europe are, in a way, much more intense and pernicious and relentless, because there is, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, a real goal to specifically destroy the United States of America, because the United States is the one country that stands in the way of the globalist agenda. And to that point, there's a quote that I want to read to the Franklies by this historian, James McGregor Burns, who was known for his criticisms of the US government's system of checks and balances. And I mean, the guy was a quite famous historian. And in 1984, he wrote a book entitled The Power to Lead. And in it, he wrote the following. He said, "The framers of the US Constitution have simply been too shrewd for us. They designed separate institutions that cannot be unified by mechanical linkages, frail bridges, or tinkering. If we are to turn the founders upside down, we must directly confront the constitutional structure they erected." And this quote right there, Frank, is exactly what everything that's going on is about in the United States. Yep. They really do want to shred the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And you see the historians, you see the scholars and the journalists, and famous people, like I think it was Fran Drescher most recently, or whatever her name is, I don't remember. Went on, I think it was
the nanny.
No, not the nanny. Another Fran. No, not Fran Drescher. I don't remember her name. A Fran something.
Okay.
Who went on Bill Maher's show recently, and also called, for basically throwing away the Constitution.
I know what
you see all these articles,
Yeah, I saw with the Atlantic and a few other things there too. And I always tell people that's why when a leftist, when a Democrat, even a middle of the road Democrat, calls you a traitor, it is a real badge of honor, because that means that you are an opponent, a direct opponent, a sworn enemy of their breakaway nation that they somehow believe. I was just in Martha's Vineyard, Noor, last week, and I was walking around this quaint little American town, very ancient town. I felt like every other building there that was older than the one before it. 19th century, 18th century building, whatever the hell it was, and every every other house had a wonderful, beautiful, brand new red, white, and blue Star Spangled Banner. It was gorgeous. But I know who lives in these houses. I know who runs these businesses. I know the politics of Martha's Vineyard, and I looked to Laura and I said, you know want to know what the crazy thing is, Laura, is that everybody here probably thinks that they are patriotic. Maybe they think that they are American. Because who really knows? Yeah. For example, and this gets everybody, even conservatives. Like I'm going to be talking to my friend Wendi on the other end of the intermission, and she's in North Carolina right now. And I look at this whole thing, and when I look at this, when I look at all of the relief stuff that goes on there, it's more of a, I understand the hypocrisy of the whole thing. When it comes to disasters, I know that we joke about, hey, if North Carolina were called Ukraine, it would have been flooded with equipment and money. But that's just a way to point out that there are corrupt priorities in our government, because other than that, FEMA should not exist. It insults injury. It's insult to injury when hundreds of millions of dollars from FEMA go to newly imported foreigners. Absolutely. But there should be no disaster relief funds, because no matter what name you call it, or how reasonable its existence sounds, it equates to the consolidation of power that will be at some time used and abused partially. And you want to talk about the constitutional order? This is all a part of it, because there's plenty of people who believe themselves to be conservative, who are want FEMA to step in here and do something when they this is the reason why they shouldn't exist, because money and resources, as we can see, can be raised faster and in greater quantities applied more directly if people were left to our own good natures. And, of course, we weren't taxed into the poorhouse to fund shit like FEMA. I mean, can you imagine what charitable givings in this country would be like if we weren't taxed 40% of our earnings every year? We're already the most charitable country in the world, and that's with being taxed into a shoestring budget. So, I mean, that's the real thing there. What is a real concern for me is the reports of hindered civilian efforts. But when you talk about constitutional order and why it needs to be turned around, it's even little thing. It's not even little. I mean, right now it's a very big deal, but it's even situations like this that need to be addressed too, because we have been trained into thinking anti-constitutional about everything, even though we may apply better moral reasoning for our demands than other people. But this is all the reason why all these departments were kept completely unlinked and unchained and as a check and a balance to each other. This is the reason why, because eventually it all will be used and abused partially.
Listen, there are so many things to be said about, this. I mean, this Hurricane Helene case highlights many different things. One thing that also concerns me, aside from everything you just said, is that you also see these people like Elon Musk, and their Starlink, and these CEOs of big corporations, that swoop in and pretend that they're going to save the day. And I'm seeing this through the lens of, the globalist agenda and the public-private partnership game that they play. And by showing that the government is incompetent and criticizing the government and saying that the government is useless and should not be operating at that level anyway, they are weaponizing this narrative in order to push, these big corporations on the scene to replace the government. And I'm also very much against that.
Yeah.
So, these people are very, very, very shrewd, and they know what they're doing. And, I said it on War Room today. I said, everything that we are seeing needs to be viewed through the lens of psychological warfare, every single thing. And we are really living through what I called, an era of psyops, and it's just psyop on psyop on psyop. And, you know, the consequences of these psyops are real, for sure, as we can see with the absolute devastation of, for example, this hurricane. But the hurricane itself and its aftermath is being totally weaponized against us in a different way on the psychological warfare plane. And whatever the outcome, you can be sure that it's serving their agenda, you know, be it, you know, of portraying these, you know, people as saviors, you know, these CEOs of big corporations, whether it's goading the people towards a civil war or the illusion of a civil war, because I really do think that that's, you know, one of their main goals when I look at what's unfolding in the U.S. and what has been unfolding in the U.S. for many years. Actually, they do want to foment some sort of civil war, and I wouldn't be surprised if it would go so far as them actually wanting to break up the country in several pieces.
Well, we'll see, because I think that the foreign invasion is actually a lot more necessary to any kind of domestic kinetic strife than anything else. The more I look at it,
100%,
because you can see they've been trying to get us to kill each other for a long time. And aside from protests aside from, you know, inflaming tensions in certain cities and neighborhoods and all that stuff, it's too large of a country. And there's nothing as divisive. We're not talking about secession anymore like we were in the 19th century. This has to be about bringing in several foreign armies worth of people who have no allegiance to anybody in this. I mean, like, for example, you look at what's going on in Chicago, what's been building up there, where you talk about local black neighborhoods that are starting to feel like they're getting encroached upon by all these Venezuelans that are coming in. I mean, that's not about Republican versus Democrat right there. This is not party line kind of a thing. This is just about this is a chaos factor, and we'll see where the hell that all gets pushed. But
you know, Frank, I think they really do want to not only portray but actually make it a reality that the U.S. be viewed as a ungovernable and incapable nation.
Yes.
And coming back to the question of the civil war or national divorce, which, for the record, I have always been and I'm completely 100% against. The United States needs to remain exactly that, united. You can see the predictive programming. You remember that a few months ago, they came out with the movie entitled Civil War. You had Joe Scarborough on his show with Mika on MSNBC saying that actually Trump, with his rhetoric, is leading the country towards a civil war. You know, you have on a very regular basis the term civil war or national divorce that trends on Twitter. And this is not by accident. So I don't believe that the country is so divided that actually a civil war is on the horizon. But I do believe that the powers that be do want to pretend or foment or give the illusion that there is a civil war in order to implement certain measures, maybe even have, you know, external boots on the ground. I mean, for me, this scenario is definitely a possibility.
Well, Noor, I don't know if we're going to have any time to talk again before election night, but who knows? Maybe I can have you call in for a 15-minute segment, and then we'll talk afterwards. I really thank you for this. Antimatters.world, not only about talking about your new project, but just for sharing your thoughts, having a conversation with me, and contributing to the third, quite frankly, bulletin. And that was, I'm really, really happy with that. Is there anything you want to leave anybody with, or anything else?
I just wanted to say that it was an honor to be a part of the newsletter. Thank you so much for inviting me to contribute. And as always, I just love chatting with you and being on your show. And I say it every time, but it's true. You are my favorite corner of the internet. So anytime to join you and the Franklies, just let me know.
Well, that's great. And like I always say, if your travels bring you in through the Northeast in 2025, you must schedule a stop. So we'll do that. Okay.
Oh, 100%. And live studio chat.
Hell yes. Have you been in a live studio for anybody? I know you do a lot of Zooms all over on the biggest shows in the world and all that stuff. But have you ever sat in anybody else's studio?
Nope. Only via the internet so far. And I just really need to make my way over to you guys at some point.
All right. Well,
I really do.
We'll see what happens. Thank you for coming to my little corner over here, Noor. I'll talk to you soon.
Speak soon, Frank. All the best to everyone.
All the best.
Hang in there.
Oh, thanks. We are. We are. We're hanging in there. We're hanging tough. Have a good one, Noor.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you go. All right. So listen, we're going to take a really quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to take your calls. I have a little bit extra time for calls. Give me a buzz. I want to hear from you. Okay. 914-200-0269. 914-200-0269. It's the bottom of the first. It's the bottom of the first, one on, no out. Nothing. All right, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. In fact, pick up your phone. Start warming it up.
Howdy, friend. You looking for a message board? Go to quitefrankly.tv and enter the forum. Engage with official show topic threads or start your own thread. Get signed up. It's that easy. And it's not Reddit, so don't sweat it. For the forum and then so much more, it's quitefrankly.tv. Yeehaw.
But still, pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic.
All right, call me. I want to call, damn it. 914-200-0269. What do you think about anything we just talked about? I especially want to hear how you're feeling. I'm going to do these little wellness checks along the way because we get closer and closer. Even the most, those of us with the most intestinal fortitude. It's like you're getting onto the ride at Six Flags. You don't have any jitter. You're not ready to go. I mean, I want to get to the point where I'm completely serene, and I feel like I'm almost there. It's that point that I always have right as we're boarding the airplane, and I let go. I let go of all the responsibility for my life. The night before I get onto the plane, I'm like, all right, I'm a little nervous, but we're doing this. And then when we're boarding the plane, I am completely just, that's it. Not in my hands anymore. Not in my hands. All right, 914-200-0269. First one up, 813. You're on the air. Who is this?
This is cool. Quite frankly, this is Shaquille Oatmeal.
Shaquille Oatmeal. Where the hell have you been? I haven't got a call from you in months.
I'm live from Tampa, Florida, in the fucking crosshairs of Milton. Where's my stapler?
Dude, well, what's your plan? Because they say that this thing is, I'm reading.
I'm terrified. I'm fucking, I normally ride this shit out, and I'm not fearful whatsoever. And considering it came from out of nowhere in the Gulf, don't want to put any conspiracies in the airways, but I mean, I believe what I believe, and my house is boarded up. I got some expanding foam. I got a bunch of sandbags. I got a bunch of Visqueen, and then I'm going to fucking Vamoose to Lakeland. And yeah, I'm pretty terrified, not gonna lie.
How long have you been there for? And this is not your first rodeo, is it?
No, not whatsoever. But I mean, coming storms, no. I rode out Irma in the house I'm living in right now, and everyone was panicked in that. And my brother, who's riding it out, he's not as close as I am. I'm going to send you a picture of where I'm at, and that's why I'm so absolutely terrified.
Gotcha. Well, it doesn't. You know, for all the paths that they're putting out there, I have it for the second half, but they're putting a lot of paths out of where this storm is going to be, and it looks like it just hits the entire west coast of Florida. It doesn't look like there's anywhere that's going to miss from some of these animations.
Lakeland's a little bit more inland, but yeah, exactly. But
anyway, okay. Well, listen.
Normally, I'm a little bit more in a more chipper mood, but normally I would ride this out. But I mean, considering, I'll send you the picture, and you'll understand why I'm GTFOing.
Please do so. And whatever the hell your gut tells you, just follow it. And just whatever the hell you do, stay safe. And because it's literally the only thing that matters. You gotta preserve your life, and everything else you just deal with afterwards. No matter how daunting that is, you got to preserve your life. So, thank you. Thanks for the call, Shaquille, and keep us up to date.
Absolutely will. And I'll send you that email with the several pictures in the crosshairs.
All right, sounds good.
But thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Take care. I know that we got a lot of people in this audience that are down there in Florida that are probably weighing their options right now. I don't know. The Florida state government seems to be a little bit more trustworthy. One of those on the more trustworthy sides of things, and they're speaking pretty severely about it. I really want to talk to Jim Lee about this. Let's take another call. 321, you're on the air. Who's this?
This is Dan. I actually just messaged you with a letter the other day about Dish being taken over by BlackRock and them.
Indeed. I remember that. Thank you for that. It made it onto the show.
Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome. But I'm right here in the path of the storm as well. I've rode through almost every hurricane since 92, since Andrew and such. Been on both coasts. My brother's on the other coast. I'm like 2 miles away from SpaceX. He's in St. Pete, so he's gonna be like right where it's supposed to hit land, you know. And then from St. Pete, it goes to where I'm at. But where he's at, he's above sea level on a 2-story place, so he's gonna ride it out. We both rode like out every storm that's came through here, but I've never seen one intensify as much as this one has so quickly. It's kind of weird.
I know, and I'm hoping we can get a lot of theories, where everybody stands on this stuff, because when it came to Helene, like I said on Friday, the whether or not it's a manipulated storm actually means less to me right now, because there are still lives that are at stake, and you just just praying for rescue efforts and praying for something to. I don't know. That's the whole thing. Like, who's going to make off with who benefits from this down the line? You know, we talk about it also with the and well, you know, before I go on with this, let me just ask you: are you going to leave, or are you going to hunker down?
We're both staying, and you know, it's the community here is pretty much all older people, even though I just left the stores recently and it was nothing but illegals with their freaking carts filled to the max with water, toilet paper, and all the freaking COVID stuff expected. And, you know, I'm watching all these old people with their, you know, carts, the motorized carts, and they barely have anything in there. Canned soup's $4 a can. Everything's almost gone. Yet these illegals are walking out with like 2 carts each. Like, it's incredible.
Well, yeah, they got the EBT cards too, so it's all just like, you know.
Well, yeah, that's why I just say that, because they're in front of me with their EBT cards, and I'm sitting here trying to calculate if I have enough money to put, you know, my stuff in the cart and stuff. But
yeah. It's only for old American ladies who are living off of Social Security after a lifetime of working hard that they have to choose between Campbell's soup and something else. That's their big haul. That's their big haul for the storm.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for the call, man. I hope all's well with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you have another one. Like I said before, even with like shootings and stuff like that, is it Orion? You know, is it Project Orion, or is it just that after so many years of being groomed into terrible culture and terrible drug culture, broken families, bad education, identity crises? It's like part of American education is to put an identity crisis into kids. Like, do you really, you don't need somebody to be an MK Ultra groomed plant that was, broken down and built back up in some kind of a bunker a mile underground somewhere. You just got to wait, and there's going to be tragedies all over the place. Then you just choose how to spin it. How is that how can that be applied to the weather? I don't know. I mean, you know that there's tons of geoengineering going on, but again, what kind of technology can steer a Category 3 hurricane like a bumper car? Is it possible? I mean, can you make it worse? I'm sure. This acceleration in the Gulf, that's nuts. And I don't know. Is it normal? If you ask me, I say I don't know. But when I look at other people who are supposed to know, it seems like they think it's abnormal. That's all I can go by. Is that all just climate change? Is it just the world is going through some changes, but we're not being told just what those changes are? Is it some polar stuff that's happening? Magnetics? Or is it a little bit of all three? That would be nuts. Let's take another call. 573, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi there, Frank. It's me, Nervous Annie.
Hi, Nervous.
I spoke to you a couple weeks ago.
Good to have you on, Nervous Annie.
Yes. I want to have a bright story. I know a lot of stuff's going on. I drove from Missouri straight up to Marquette, Michigan, and I did it in 2020. My daughter goes to the university up there, and I had a Trump 2024 thing in my back window. Nobody gave me any trouble. It was a great trip, and there was a lot of Trump signs, like everywhere.
Okay.
It was crazy. Yeah. All the way up through Wisconsin, which is northern Wisconsin. Marquette is a very liberal area because of the university.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in 2020 and there was a lot of Biden, signs. And this time it was just more Trump, all through there. And it was pretty refreshing, just to say, because it's a very, very liberal. It's I'd say it was probably in Marquette, I'd say it was 6-1 Trump, and which is crazy. It's extremely liberal.
Well,
and being from Michigan, I just, grew up Republican. My dad worked for Ford Motor Company, and it was just good to see.
Okay, so
that area.
So you're traveling through towns and villages and cities along the way, and you're seeing things that you think should be would be expressing opposite. But I maybe that is something. I think these are the little anecdotes and the little testimonies. And thank you for the call, Annie, because I'm going to have to go on a little break here before Wendi Mahoney comes on. Maybe those are those little testimonies that that make us wonder just about what we have going in our favor, regardless of what the installation plan is in the next 4 months. There's an installation plan. There's a plan A, there's a plan B, there's a C. I don't know. But I like anecdotes from people like Annie. Annie's anecdotes on the road, places that should be trending. You want to know the other thing there is? We know that there are plenty of intelligent Democrats out there who are just going to not advertise the fact that what they're about to do. I think that there's no negotiating with themselves about changing patterns in their lives. But I think that there is least amount of reason, aside from going to that little corner of Massachusetts and seeing every house with a Harris sign in front of it, and the ceasefire now. That is just one of those things where it's group therapy. But other than that, when it's a little bit mixed, I think everybody's just keeping their cards close to their chest, because very few people, I think, are actually very happy with what they feel they have to do, including liberals, which makes you wonder why are you going to do it? And are they? How many Democrats out there are speaking warmly about Democrat politics to their friends, knowing deep inside they're voting for Trump? I wonder. There has to be. That's something you can't poll. I guess you can, because the polls are in confidence and you have to just trust that people are telling the truth. I would love to know that. Democrats who are planning on voting Trump secretly, though maintaining a front of unity with all of their liberal friends. I don't even know how someone like Rich or any other pollster would actually be able to start pulling together, what the verbiage they have to use. That would be interesting. And doing the opposite would be as well, because I'd have to imagine that there would be a sliver on the opposite side of that, of Republican type people who are, doing all the Trump, giving Trump lip service, all that stuff to all their friends, but secretly going for Harris. I have to imagine that would be as rare as a unicorn. I think those people would rather just not vote than go the other. That's just ridiculous. So who knows? All right, 8:05. I got a couple of minutes until we call up Wendi Mahoney. So I'm going to go to a really quick intermission. Going to get myself a little bit more water. Don't go anywhere, because it's always a great call with Wendi. And then we're going to take more of your calls at the end. Have a couple other things to tell you, and away we go into book club. And remember, tonight, before I go to sleep, I am going to be setting up book club for October 14th, next Monday night. By the way, next Monday night, I think that we actually have Alan Weiner coming on from WCBQ, and we're going to have that shortwave radio conversation again, because dude, there's a lot of shortwave, a lot of ham radio, a lot of citizens band radio talk that's going on right now. People are rediscovering the absolute necessity for everybody to have two-way radios, and getting a little bit more into knowing and being familiar with the technology. I'm not anywhere. I'm not very advanced in that, but I've got the will, and that's something I want to do more of. But that'll be interesting. Got to do that and a few other things. What the hell is it going to do? Oh, yeah. The 14th. That's going to be the public book club for everybody out there. If you've never been a part of book club, do it with us on the 14th. We're going to do Edgar Allan Poe's Mask of the Red Death. It's going to be public, and I'll promote it. I'm going to have to get it out all throughout the week. Maybe I should do it on the 21st then, so that next week I can get it out. I can just promote it all throughout the week. I'll figure this one out. I want to make sure some of you guys read it and do it with us, because it's going to be fun. All right, I'll be right back. Don't go.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button.
Entering, quite frankly.
Quite frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly. So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
Quite frankly. How dare you?
About that, if that's something that's personal to you. Tennessee TCB says, happy Monday. Looking forward to another great week of programming on Quite Frankly. Thanks for all that you do. Well, it's going to be a little bit on the fly programming this week, but I can't wait to do it with you. Let's see. Stephen Laurie again says, I guess they'll be mined away into oblivion now. Well, maybe not. Hopefully not. But when the media starts using things like the future of commerce or the future of the economy is in Spruce Pine, I don't think very many people are going to let that one go. All right, here we go. Average Joe Patriot. Thank you, Average Joe. Witchy Poo sends a fleet and cookies. You guys are very, very, thank you so much. And Boys Blanc, thank you. John, Braves Piano, Porpoiseful, Sean Joe. They're giving and receiving all these subscriptions now. Sausage Launcher. That's a great name. Damn. I love it. Shaquille Oatmeal says, just sent a picture. Didn't expect to get picked up so quickly, but tell me what you would do. C. Blanche says, pilled Foxhole. That's where it's at. Peace. It is. I think everybody on Twitch should start going to Pilled and Foxhole. Quite frankly, .tv, right there. It's so cozy. It's unbelievable. And thank you, Delona. All right. I have to call. Hold on. Actually, one real quick. King, real quick. I got 1 minute before before my guest comes on. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'll make it really, really fast. You know how you do your little giveaways there sometimes on the channel there?
Yes.
You give away things and have contests.
You want to give something away?
I would like to make a donation, but I'm not going to say live on the air. I would make a donation, for one of your giveaways for one of your fans to win, but I want to clear it with you first. You know what I mean? We talk about it off air.
You got it. I would love.
You let me know if you think it's a good idea.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show.
All right. That's all.
That'd be great. Hey, listen, there might be a King-sponsored giveaway very soon. Very, very soon. Who wouldn't want to win that? I sure would. Let's call up Wendi.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Wendi. How are you?
Good. Are you on air?
I'm on air right now. Yes.
Okay. Well, I am just getting out of the car. We've had limited connectivity and issues with roads and everything else. So please understand that that's what's been going on, and I'm in transition.
Oh, don't worry.
All right. Well.
Okay. So
what's been going on? What do you have for me?
Let me ask you. Let me just put it out there, because first of all, this is the first time we've spoken on the phone since last month, and you were a contributor to the bulletin for September. Thank you for that. But now you are on location. You are down in North Carolina, and I have so many questions for you. But the first thing I want to ask is this: what have you gathered about the response down there? We know about the civilian response, but there's so many different takes on there being hurdles, the government standing in the way. There is no hurdles. It's all misunderstanding. It's just chaos and no coordination. What have you gathered in the days that you've been present?
Well, it's really tough to know, because I'm not in FEMA and I'm not in the government. So I don't know the inside story of what's going on. I will say that it's difficult out here. And when you have an agency trying to come in and coordinate activity, and you're unfamiliar with the roads and you don't have the connections, et cetera, it's going to be harder than it is for local people. Now, I will say that at Trinity Baptist Church in Asheville, just west of Asheville, they have a huge distribution and communication hub. And there's this pastor down there that I don't even know how to describe this guy. He's just completely amazing. And there's all manner of Army, National Guard, everything. I've seen Chinooks, taking off from the airport. Not everything is private. I have not seen any FEMA trucks. I don't know what FEMA trucks look like. I did see the Red Cross pull into a very small town in a Fairview area that's been blocked off. But, I'm inclined to not talk a lot about the negative stuff. I think that it's exceedingly difficult to communicate here. It's exceedingly difficult to get around. And what I do know is that the local people are pulling together in ways that, Americans do in rural areas like this. and they are relying on each other. There have been community centers set up, distribution centers set up in churches and in Ingles parking lots. Ingles is a local grocery store. Their Chick-fil-A is parked there with a mobile kitchen serving 600 people 3 meals a day. So I think a lot of it is rumors, and a lot of it is people maybe maybe it's people frustrated because the government isn't showing up. But I guess we pay taxes and we do want our government to show up and things like this. But honestly, I mean, the people are helping each other better than anything else, and that's what we've got at this point. I really don't know what FEMA is. I have seen no evidence. Let's just put it this way. There's no evidence. I don't have any data. There's no pastor, and I've spoken with so many people. There's nobody who said to me directly, yeah, FEMA, they're taking away our property. They're taking away our lithium mine. They're blocking us from getting supplies. They're not letting us get in a road. I have never had anybody in person tell me things like that.
Okay.
So if that answers your question,
well, yeah,
that's all I got.
Well, it's another country heard from. Absolutely. Because you know, as well as anybody else, what social media is like, and it is one, call to war after another. And so I just don't know, because some of the reports are just harrowing and terrible and heartbreaking. And then some of them are so bad that even in this case, in our state right now, where we've been dragged through the mud for so long, I still can't believe some of the things, that there has to be some kind of a misunderstanding. And sometimes I really hope that there is a misunderstanding, because the prognosis, the diagnosis is so bad. But I want to ask you about communication. Have you any experience now with these Starlink devices? Because we hear a lot about them. I cover this from a radio standpoint. I've been really interested in that aspect, but when it comes to Starlink, I know that has been that's been a big part of the headlines, trying to get this technology in there just to create some kind of a communication link between people who are, and at this point, still very many of them isolated. What do they look like? Are they satellite phones? Are they I don't know what I'm even picturing right now.
Well, so there's a part of the Starlink that you put on the roof, and then there's this really pretty, relatively maybe like a maybe a desktop size unit that goes on the ground. And let me tell you, I mean, so my dad and I bought 20 of these things. Then Robbie Starbuck has already, and I helped him with some of that distribution and getting addresses, has deployed, I think, 30 of them. And I've used them today. The connectivity is fantastic. Now I am with Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips, and they have a number of companies, but they have the capability of putting in a number of adjunct pieces involving radio to kind of project the signal 10 miles out. And so to boost, because, you still have people trying to jump on these Starlinks, and when you have 100 people showing up, you're going to have traffic there. And so it'll project it out and also give it more than just, a radius of where it is in, let's say, a distribution center.
So it's essentially a satellite powered Wi-Fi hotspot.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
It's basically untethered. It's it's not underground cable. Yeah, satellite powered. And they have minis, what are called minis. They're a little bit more expensive. They're $600. You can you put them on a tripod or whatever, pack them in your backpack. And we are looking at getting some of those too, because we have a lot of communities, let's say Bakersville, Burnside, I think it is, Newland, down there in Green River, County Mitchell, all these places where people, for example, I have in contact with a man named Sean Strain, who's going to take one of the satellites, one of Robbie's satellites, and he's coming from Charlotte on Wednesday, crack of dawn. He's going to pick it up for me. He's going to drive down, but the switchbacks down there in Saluda, where Green River is, they're all washed out. And he knows how to get in there. And then there's a bridge span that's completely down. I think one part of it is up. And what he had to do the other day was he had to get a ladder. He took his truck, he got a ladder, he brought some supplies. And those people were originally getting drops, but then they had two ladies venture out from their community over to Lake Lure, met him. He followed them back, got the ladder, climbed up on the part of the span of the bridge that was left, hoisted all the stuff up and walked it across. So that's what he's going to do with the Starlink satellite, Robbie Starbucks satellite Starlink that I'm going to give him, and he's going to get that in there and hook it up. They're pretty much plug and play, and you all you need is 100 watts of electricity. So it's a pretty efficient little unit. And had Elon gotten the contract, maybe these communities would have had all of this before this disaster. And let me tell you, I mean, I was speaking with someone about, what's the big deal? 100-year floods, we have those, whatever. The reason this is a big deal is because these are a lot of these communities. They're very rural. They're a lot of them off the grid. Some of them don't have internet at all anyway, and they have had either roads or, for example, in Pensacola and Pisgah Forest, there, 500 homes. I mean, literally 500 homes washed off the side of the mountain, gone. A little boy the other day, 10 years old, found by rescuers in a tree. His family washed away in the river to Tennessee, and no one knew he was there because his family was gone. They just happened to spot him. We've got about 200 dead in Buncombe County alone. They're not making those stories known because they have to match up the death certificates with the bodies. But this is pretty much a search and recovery mission at this point, to be honest. We've got a lot of people starving in these areas where people have to get in on foot. We've got, helicopters dropping. I saw one today dropping in supplies. I went over to the Asheville airport and met with the chief of the search and rescue, that airport location, and then the air marshals over there, to get my head around what's happening with them. And I mean, there's just, it's really, it's so funny too, because it's like you drive around and it looks like everything's perfectly fine. And then you'll just look over and then see an area that happened to be near a river, and it's just absolute devastation. And I mean, I've seen a lot of devastation. It's not like everywhere you walk, it's like a nuclear bomb went off at all.
Okay.
But there are these areas where it's terrible devastation. And, there are power lines and there are roads. I'll send you some pictures, Frank, but, there's power lines down and roads half gone and, unstable roads. And, people are helping in every way they can. I mean, one man, just one story, when I went into Fairview, this man was cooking at a makeshift stove outside a small little church in the middle of nowhere. And I just asked him, how's he doing? What was the situation? Well, I lost my home. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, I was sitting on my couch, and before I knew it, I had a giant, a river and mud and a tree trunk in the middle of my house. And it took my house away. And he said, I don't know how I survived. So those are the kinds of stories that I'm hearing. But yet, I mean, I'm not seeing anybody sitting around feeling sorry for themselves whatsoever. There really isn't a lot of complaining about the fact that FEMA isn't showing up. These people are self-sufficient. I suspect that a lot of them just hope they don't show up to complicate matters.
Exactly.
Truth be told.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why we actually want these guys to show up. I hate to say it, but I mean, maybe they're better off without them. I don't know.
No, I think we are all better off without them. It's the way that we've been designed to be. I mean, we are. It's everyday people who are. When you think about the Army Corps of Engineers being called in for certain types of things, I mean that used to be good enough. But all of these separate departments and bloated agencies, when this is one of those things where you get reminded of who the real movers and shakers and who the real skilled people in the country are. It's the locals, and you see this come to life in so many different ways. And I really just I would say, if you can just talk a little bit more about that. You had mentioned something earlier on, which I thought was great as well, and it really goes hand in hand with like the kind of experience that you reported on when you were following the truckers around. But you said, every time I do this, whether it's the truckers, the service and community, disaster relief, connecting with Americans, my heart is filled with so much love for this country and her people. So, I mean, that I knew that this was going to be a part of your story, because this is the kind of thing that you just pick up on along the way. There's plenty of people out there pointing at all the fires that need to be extinguished, but the real way that we move on from this is from people being able to just have that gut check and knowing that the person next to them is a good person, and it's not all bad, malicious kind of parasitical people out there.
Yeah, honestly, I don't see the point in thinking that way at all. What I see happening out there is just a whole lot of goodness. I mean, you're driving by, people have set up makeshift tents, and they're just sitting out there with their cookers. These are people who probably lost their darn homes, and they're sitting out there with their cook, and they're offering. I don't know where they got the stuff, or distribution center, and then whatever, went to the grocery stores themselves and start cooking on the side of the road. I mean, the pastor in this Trinity Baptist Church in Asheville, I mean, I can't begin to tell you. I mean, I actually am going to post his website. I think I actually did, but his family started Hearts with Hands, which is a national distribution center. I went there today. We donated Starlink to them, and we're trying to get other, connectivity for them out there. But he's got this, I can't, it's like a freaking command center over there. And I sat down with him, and he just said, I'm not interested in all this bureaucratic red tape. He goes, I have no time for that. He's got a 30-day plan, a 6-month plan, a year plan. He knows this is here to stay. He also knows, with the other disasters that are happening in our country, that he's going to lose a lot of boots on the ground that he's got here, that they're going to go elsewhere. So he's trying to prepare for them leaving, and for the very real possibility that, now his search and rescue local people feel very abandoned, and what he's going to do about that, and keeping the morale of his community and, in a good place so that they can sustain their energy and their perseverance in situations like this. And I mean, he's just a remarkable, remarkable young man. I mean, I don't even think he's I don't even think he's 40 years old, this guy. And, it's so true, Frank. I guess, I saw this story today on this helicopter that I guess buzzed a building, or supposedly did. Like, why? Do you think about this just from a common sense point of view? Do people actually think that some search and rescue guy got in a helicopter this morning, got up, had his cup of coffee, and said, I think I'm going to go in my helicopter and buzz the building and destroy everything I can today? Do people actually think that that's what's going on here? And if that is going on, let's say there's some just jerk out there that got up this morning and did that. I don't know why we have to focus on him. And I don't know why we have to exaggerate it if it did happen. Maybe it was an accident. But guys, like newsflash to everyone out there, people are tired. They have been working 24/7 on this project that is Hurricane Helene. And so maybe, just maybe, those guys on that helicopter were tired and they made a mistake. So the point being is that when I'm out here and I'm seeing, and don't even really have super rosy glasses on. I mean, it's just presenting itself to me. I'm trying to be objective. It's just presenting itself to me, and I see people helping each other, doing everything they can. And these are people who probably yesterday their home washed down the gully. You know, I mean, one of the people in Newland, there were two houses sitting on a lot. One was down the way and one was completely washed away, family gone, dead. So, you know, a lot of these people have had huge trauma in the last couple of weeks, and yet they're still getting up every day and saying, well, nothing more we can do. Got to get out there and help and distribute food and cook for people. And, you know, we'll get through this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I'm seeing it.
Well, that's I can't wait to hear the reporting once you're back home and you get to digest all of this. You're always you found yourself in the middle of some really amazing pieces of history. Maybe some of them will be, if not for people like you, there to tell the story some of the time. I mean, that's the best part about this is just being able to preserve these stories for people who aren't going to be grabbing the headlines. Real quick before we take off, are you? I mean, obviously, you got your hands full. Everybody in North Carolina around you is doing a job, and they're trying to save lives and to stabilize the community before they leave. But now we have another buzzsaw of a storm that's heading right for Florida. Is there any talk about that?
Yeah, well, so I know Sonia Labasco. She's the executive director of the Air Marshals, and she's in charge. I don't know, she's some kind of captain or whatever, a bunch of Rotary clubs down there. She's been trying to help, and she lives in Florida. She lives in the Orlando area. And again, another super upbeat, amazing woman, just amazing. And, you know, she's been helping elderly get set, making sure that they're going to be safe from the storm on the phone 24/7 with her team. She actually hooked me up with the guy in Fairview to get, deliver a satellite to him. She raised sent me $1,800 to help me and my dad pay for our satellites today. I mean, the people in Florida are definitely bracing for the worst of Cat 5. I think it's going to be really rough. And I actually think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the federal government to get out of North Carolina, go somewhere else. And, so I think people, honestly, I don't think we need to look to our government at this point. I think people are just going to have to literally just get off their butts and help each other. And I full faith the American people will do it. I'm telling you, I love this country. I love the people in this country. I love the people in these rural areas. They know how to pull together. They're the best of what we have. And the more we focus on that and send that energy out, I think the better off we'll be.
Thanks for everything, Wendi Mahoney, and I'll just keep looking out for your updates, and maybe we'll have you on again. And be safe out there, please.
Yep, I'll be here through the weekend. So,
all righty,
I'll keep reporting.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Frank. All right, bye.
That's what I wanted to hear. Just wanted to something to be hopeful about. By the way, we sent pretty much all of the superchat.com super chats and an estimate of the Rumble rants that came in on Friday night to that Grindstone Ministries again. Rosie in the chat room, she sent a little bit more on Saturday, but I couldn't donate it until yesterday because I guess they're like Orthodox Jewish or something. The whole e-commerce side of their site was shut down for the Sabbath. I have to imagine that's what it was. But so that's the only thing I've known because it's a local thing, and all that's been applied locally. It's very hands-on. Thank you to the members of the audience who have let us know about that. So at least we had some place to send this to. And now knowing that Wendy's out there, I'm sure she'd be able to tell us who that pastor was or something like that. We can, if we do another fundraiser or something like, who knows? We got to see what the hell's going to happen with Florida now. All right. Okay. Let's take another really quick break. When we come back, it's all of your calls until I have to get off, like maybe 10, 12 minutes worth of calls. Then I have to set up for book club over here. The Yankees just took a 1-0 lead. In case anybody cared. I know many of you do. So just Be well. We'll be right back.
You're watching QuiteFrankly.tv.
QuiteFrankly.tv.
You're watching Quite Frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite Frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite Frankly.
Quite frankly. QuiteFrankly.tv.
You're watching QuiteFrankly.tv.
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 This video right here appearing to show Turkey's military bombing Kurd civilians in a Syrian border town. The Kurds who fought alongside the U.S. against ISIS. Now, horrific reports of atrocities committed by Turkish-backed fighters on those very allies. A reporter, take a look at this live streaming video when a convoy is hit by a Turkish airstrike. President Trump ordering about 1,000 U.S. troops to withdraw from northern Syria. Since pulling U.S. troops from the region, hundreds of ISIS prisoners and sympathizers have gone free. About 200,000 Kurds have been displaced, and Kurdish leaders now looking for help from unlikely new allies. ABC's Ian Pannell is in Syria to lead us off.
Everything was fine with our system until the power grid was shut off by Dickless here.
They caused an explosion.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Break it up. All right. Well, that's what I heard.
You're listening to Quite Frankly.
And now it's tied 1-1. Home run. Way to have a shutdown inning. You freak. You big goofy freak. This is the worst time of year. It's the best time of year. It's the worst time of year. Whatever the hell it is, just do it. Do it quickly. All right. Okay, let's take some calls. 914-200-0269. It's just the kind of call, kind of a night. And we were going to have a third guest this evening. Diddy pornographic video allegedly features a person more high profile than him, reports Yahoo News. Ariel Mitchell Kidd represents a woman who claims that Bad Boy founder assaulted her in 2018 and appears, let's see here, but one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video that they were in possession of to contact the person who was in the video to see if they were interested in purchasing before it became public knowledge. She stated that the video was recorded at his home in Atlanta, was pornographic in nature, and that the person in the video did not seem aware of the fact that they were being recorded. Internet users have named people like Jay-Z, Beyonce, The Weeknd, and more as those who attended his parties may have been involved in his dark activity behind the scenes. However, the more high-profile language opens up to people beyond hip-hop, R&B, and pop. Will it happen? You know, I saw Elon Musk talk about Elon Musk. I saw him talking to somebody. These clips just bounce around. I don't even know what the hell shows anybody are on anymore. These clips just bounce around. Elon Musk making a pretty much a promise that if Donald Trump is elected, that the Epstein client list is going to be opened up. Will it? I mean, I guess we all hope so. What happens from there? Oh, people got to lose their shirts. Their shirts and a lot more. But who knows? Who knows? And I see it. I see a lot of the people saying, Frank, it's hard to politicize. It's hard to avoid politicizing these storms. Because you think about Florida, what this could mean right now. And even where the hell it went right up the gullet there. It's just nutty stuff. I know it's hard to keep it completely out of your head, because it's more so like this. It's never simple. You always have to remember that. Usually it's never simple. And if everybody seemingly has it right, there's probably something else. The fact that everybody is talking about NextRad radar makes me feel like we're supposed to all be talking about NextRad radar. steering hurricanes. But on the other hand, when Marjorie Taylor Greene goes out there and says they can control the weather, and then they give Mediaite this opportunity, claims Marjorie Taylor Greene after deadly Hurricane Helene kills more than 200, because it makes her look petty and ridiculous when so many people are, how can you even go there when so many people have lost their lives? You think this is a game? No, it's not a game. And there are decades worth. I mean, that is just common knowledge. Decades worth, actually over 100 years. I mean, Jim Lee would bring scientifically proven weather modification and cloud seeding back to the late 1800s. So it's a very big deal. It's very well established. And aside from just being able to seed a cloud here to saturate the land, seed a cloud here to deprive this land of water, or to weaponize it and to use it as a weapon in the middle of war, very well established. It's not a conspiracy theory, but these are the games. These are the games that we're privy to now. This is what we're watching play out. All right, let's take another call. 201, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Frankie, baby.
Hey, who's this?
It's Frankie Fawcett.
What's going on?
First of all, you want to congratulate me on that raise?
Yeah. What is this? Is this the 3-month stay, or is this
Yeah. So basically, they agreed to almost all of our demands, right? We're back to work till January.
Uh-huh.
Of course, it's political. I got into it a little bit. I should have said less, but it's real deal, Holyfield. I know it's hard to believe. I want you to know I'm down in Tampa, by the way, too. I can hit all the marks tonight, Frankie. I got enough time to sit and chill with you. I just lit something with wifey. This thing's coming straight at us, buddy.
Yeah, it seems it is. Let me ask you something. There was never ever, aside from people in comment sections and
of course,
there was never
Don't
any.
ask a rhetorical question. You got the answer to that.
Yeah, but there was never any mention of.
Who's going to talk about it? Seriously. Who's going to talk about it? So you were on it. You were on it. I listened to you. I don't listen to you live as much as I could get because of the work schedule. But you were telling Jay the other day. Well, I mean, when you think about it, first of all, who's going to communicate that? But after 9/11, right? Rest in peace to my big brother, Christopher Amoroso. But the truth is, after 9/11, they took over the ports. So what they did was they got their third-party security team in. Now, let me tell you something. All the ports up north, all of the security is Middle Eastern. So it's just a charade. There's an old movie you need to watch, Marlon Brando. It's called On the Waterfront. When you watch that, you'll understand our lives a lot more.
So then why no mention of national security? Why was it all about money?
So again, who's going to talk about it? Look what happens to people that talk about it.
You have the platform.
You just nailed it. Let's
But
hear it.
wait,
I'm gonna tie it all in together.
But wait. You had your union chief had a platform, the entire country's attention right there. And if this was the main reason why that hold on. You got to let me formulate a question here. You have the entire country's attention, and you stayed focused on money. I mean, you think that would be the big, and then to say, okay, well, we want 77%. You don't get 77%. You're given, 50 something at first. No, it's not enough. Still, no children, no human trafficking, nothing along the way. And then 65%. Okay, we'll go back to work, and still no mention. I mean, I just say, along with that and all of the, we will cripple you being everyday construction workers, middle class, people who aren't connected. The way that it was all delivered was very, very unattractive, and it never got around to even hinting at these bigger humanitarian, what you would think would be actually a reason why people would put their foot down. Hey, we're trying to save the children. We're trying to do this. I just think it was odd that was just completely absent.
So I want you to let you know I'm on my best behavior. I couldn't even let you get through the question because we're so in tune. I want to answer everything that you have a problem with, right? But let's just take it at face value. What's happening to Donald J. Trump? What does the media machine do constantly in the papers, like, look, you have my government. I've even said that to you. When you Google me, you're going to read stories that are just untrue. Things that have happened in my life. But when you understand the life of a longshoreman and the things that we have to endure and the people that we're around and the political machine, I'm going to tie it all in. Remember, I told you I was going to do that.
Well, you got 2 minutes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. She just went online and said what? About these storms, about everything, about this manipulation. It tied into who? Tied into who? It tied into John Brennan, the head of the CIA. The head of the CIA for Barack Obama. That's who we're at war with. Radical Muslim globalist ideology that have come into this. Look, I could lose my life even telling you this, dog. I got goosebumps because my whole life I was told, don't open your fucking mouth. So when you tie it all together and you understand that John Brennan is indeed from North Bergen, ILA 1804-1 is from North Bergen, New Jersey. The mayor of my town's been the mayor of my town for the past 44 years. He's also a state senator in New Jersey, and he also runs the Board of Education. Frankie, my life is on the line, even giving you what I'm giving you. But when I'm telling you right now that Harold J. Daggett, Frankie Fawcett, Mr. Quite Frankly himself, and about 1 million other motherfucking Americans with balls is the only thing keeping the lights on, you have my word as bond. I actually would even go on camera and have a conversation with you and pull in other people that we could talk about because that's where the future's going. That's why I love you so much.
Well,
because young guys with the balls enough and the heart enough that want a future for my children and Aurora and everybody else that's listening to us. Frankie, it's true. It doesn't all make sense, and then everybody say, I just don't get it. You want them to scream on a media platform that they're doing exactly what we know they're doing, and then they're going to cut it out and edit it anyway? When he said we would cripple you, he's talking to the international globalists, to the shipping companies, to the people that have ruined this fucking world, to the Lujan and Lucifer, and more importantly, the corrupt, disgusting politicians in this country that sold us out.
So
goes
then,
all the way back to NAFTA.
So then why was a 65% pay raise all that was needed to go back?
Called hush money. We have no choice but to go back because if we don't go back, you starve. We're getting hit with a hurricane right now. If we didn't go back, people wouldn't have lumber to board up their houses.
Okay.
This is the last greatest union that you've ever seen in the history of this world. I guarantee you it.
Well, let me ask you one last question, Megan, and it's because this has a lot to do with other threads that we have followed in the past, and that is very simply that there must be a prestige. There must be a great reveal. There has to be something. There has to be something that galvanizes everybody's attention, and that there is one universal, undisputed truth of the matter. So when I think about this, I think about everything you just went through. Whether you're just playing your cards, close to the chest, and you see yourself as a last line of defense for this country, the last great union, and you have a mission that is much greater than just taking the containers on and off of ships, but there is a national security role there that even DHS and this Customs and Borders don't even do. Then there has to be a day where you say, look at what's going on. There has to be a call of attention to it. There has to be. Everybody has to know. So where along the line are we to revealing what you guys are really in control? I feel like we're talking about alien disclosure right now, but where are we along the pathway to getting disclosure about what your mission really is?
It's similar. At capacity, we could check about 3% of containers. At capacity. That's with gamma ray detectors. That's with every flow they could possibly do. And that's over here on the East Coast. On the West Coast, it's gone. We lost it. So in case you want one of these ports to look like it did in Beirut, right? We're doing everything we can. When you know we've been infiltrated, when you know we have been attacked from the inside, when you know we are against the grain and you see it. So I'm going to tell you like this, because, you deserve this as well. This shit is biblical. And in the good book, it said for 2,000 years, who's going to rule the world, right? So the world as we know it is changing. And there are people like us that are strong enough to stand up and say these things. And I'm going to also just add Elon in. Look what he's saying when he's coming in. New systems are being designed to put a new place. And if you think automation, and they're automatically going to run over us like that, yeah, we could work well together, right? We can integrate it, right? But I'm telling you right now, the gatekeepers and the old guard are disgusting. And it is a world war. This is World War III, and it's been transpiring. So again, if people were able to sit down more with us or sit down more with Harold, or even if you were able to have a lot more listeners than you do, and you reach plenty, Frankie, right? We're doing it, homie. And God willing, we do it before we all suffer. Look what they're doing. The vaccines, look what they're doing. I gave you a lot of names. You guys can research and pay attention. Frankly's are great at this. Again, I told you I'm also putting my life on the line for this. I owe this to you.
Well,
because people like you are coming out here and doing this, and I just implore all of your listeners and you from my heart to understand that Harold J. Daggett is literally the last of the Mohicans. And go on DuckDuckGo and do your research on him. And me and you could kick it any day, brother, and I'll tell you a million other stories that would make you realize this shit's for real.
Okay, well,
I love you. You want to ask me anything else? Go ahead. You know me with my mouth.
Little by little, Frankie. Little by little.
That's Karina.
Oh, well, hello, Karina. You guys
She
have
calls in too. She loves you.
Well, listen,
Go ahead,
have yourself a good night, and also be safe out there if you're there for the storm on Wednesday, and hopefully we'll get another call from you and put another piece of the puzzle soon.
I'm here, man. It's a hurricane party. Don't make me video phone in.
All right.
I'll hit you up. We could go live. How's that from the hurricane? But have no fear. This is the bottom line. What I want you and everybody else to know. Have no fear, man. God wins.
All right. Take care, my man.
Love you, brother. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Always very interesting. What did you take away from that? You can send in some emails, send in some follow-up questions, because there might be a day that Frankie calls back in. And that couple of weeks of back and forth with the labor unions that left a lot of people scratching their heads, maybe there is something more to it. Okay, well, thank you guys and gals. Thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you so much for the calls. It was great to really hang out with you. I hope that Jim Lee feels better. I really do. He's a good man, and I don't want that head splitting. Over on Rumble, we do have a couple of Rumble rants. Kimiet says, "Hi, love you all. My question is, isn't FEMA powerless after the Chevron deference got overturned?" Well, I mean, I guess that we're in an era where you need to start suing, but FEMA, yeah, as far as you're talking about, as far as having administration or regulatory power, I don't know if that means that when they show up on the scene, they can, commandeer the area. I don't think that's the case. I think the sheriff is still the king. So let me see. How do I make more than a $1 rant? I'm new at this. I don't know, Kim. To be honest, I don't know. It should be all right there, maybe. J-Box says, Annie here again. I also wrote no tax on tips. Vote for Trump 2024 on all my restaurant receipts. It was fun. Good food and conversations along the way. Much love. Be safe. Yeah, I'd love to be out there and see that part of the country. That's next. I love driving, so I'm sure it'll work out at some point. Okay, guys. Okay, gals. That's it for tonight. That's it for this week. I will be on with you not tomorrow morning because I'll be driving, but perhaps tomorrow afternoon I'll stop in. Pay attention to the YouTube. That's the easiest one to go live on. Maybe I'll sprinkle in some Instagram as well. But thank you guys for everything. We're going to go and we're going to do some book club now, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. You have been wonderful, wonderful guests and friends. Thank you, Wendi Mahoney. Thank you, Noor bin Ladin. It was. Oh, here. This is a funny one right here from the Babylon Bee. Democrats cruelly make fun of autistic African American jumping for joy, and there's Elon Musk on stage, channeling some of that Tim Waltz energy. Don't know. Oh, I had some clips from him, but it's only a 2-hour show. So much more to do when we get back. Thank you guys again, and good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.